All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We are super excited to kick things off. I know there's a few people just joining us and joining us a little bit later. We like to get things going. We love to be on time. So wanted to welcome everybody. My name is John Kovacs Jr. I'm the founder and creator of Champion Circle, which is a networking association right now, currently based in Utah and in northern Utah to be specific. And we've got a few chapters there that meet regularly on a monthly basis. We go over the importances of personal development and professional development. We follow a curriculum based on the principles found within Think and Grow Rich. I am a Think and Grow Rich expert and coach, and we follow a lot of these things to help business owners, especially the ones who are absolutely frustrated with the processes and the nuances of their business experience. And they come to us for that development and that learning and that networking so that they can accelerate the results and find better outcomes and solutions for the things that they're most frustrated about. But it's not all about frustration. It's about having fun. We also do lots of really, really fun activities each month. And we are coming to cities near you. So wherever you're tuning in from, we're working towards our growth and coming closer to where you're at. So we appreciate you. If you have any questions about the Champion Circle and what we do, our podcast is pretty active. We have a book club and we have really fun activities. So if you'd like to participate in any of those, you can send us an email, inquire more just by going to team@mychampionscircle.com, or you can just go to mychampionscircle.com and learn more about us, find out when our next event is, and so much more. All of that being said, I am really excited to introduce a guest speaker and a presenter, workshop trainer, all of the above tonight. And I'm going to read a really cool and very formal bio for him. I love working with this guy. Personally, I just want to say I'm really excited that you get to learn from Ian Stermer today. And let me give you just a little bit of information about Ian. And by a little, I mean, I'm going to read a bio that he sent to me recently because he's about to, in the next week or two, he's going to be a #1 best-selling author. And I'm really excited for his journey and just all of the influence he has. But Ian was a recruiter who owned his own recruiting company. Ian was regularly invited by LinkedIn to participate and learn in LinkedIn training. So this is where a lot of the information you're going to learn tonight is from his experience directly from the creators, LinkedIn themselves. Ian is a serial entrepreneur. He's an international speaker, a corporate trainer, and business coach. He cut his teeth. Ian, do you recognize this bio? He cut his teeth in the hospitality industry, where he gained a love of helping people smile and a little more. Okay. Ian has spoken before thousands from New York to San Francisco to Hong Kong. His decades of real world experience and his unique perspective on life have made him a popular speaker with businesses, civic groups, and professional organizations. Namely, I want to share that he has created training programs on customer service for some of the top hotels in the world, including the Mandarin Oriental and Marriott hotels. Solopreneurs, salespeople, and small businesses have sought his expertise in training themselves and their staff on customer service, sales, and creating collaborative partnerships. He is currently teaching courses on financial literacy and how to use humor to reduce stress and improve sales. I want to also mention just a few other quick things about Ian. Ian has successfully started and ran a business in customer service, human resources, business coaching, and financial industries. He's turned around failing businesses and has created new growth market for existing businesses. And then also, of course, right now he currently runs Stermer Financial, which is a financial services company. In addition, he is on the executive team over here at Champion Circle. We value his mentorship and his guidance a lot. We rely on him a lot. And then this networking association provides high performance based networking activities to connect and create capital, increase professional and prosperity. You guys, if you want to learn more, you can go to ianstermer.com. But without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the man, the myth, the legend, the guy I've been talking about for the last 90 seconds, and you get to hear from the awesome Mr. Ian Stermer. Ian, welcome, and I'll full screen you here.
Thank you. And I did remember to unmute before I started speaking, so it's a good start to the day.
So Ian,
So,
again, I just want to thank everyone for joining us and those who are joining a little bit later. This is a training by Ian to share with you the important strategies on LinkedIn. I'm going to pass it over to you. If you need help, I'm here for you. And I can't wait to hear from you.
that's great. Thank you very much. So LinkedIn. LinkedIn has kind of become my favorite one to use for a few different reasons. But first of all, show of hands for people that are on here. How many people love understanding and learning about the algorithms to make sure your posts get the widest view? We got one person who loves doing that. Yeah, okay. I don't. So I'm going to talk about some ways to go through LinkedIn without having to learn all of that stuff. And a lot of it is using LinkedIn the same way we'd use a face-to-face belly-to-belly connection with someone. So to start out with, I kind of wrote a few notes of what to say with these. First of all, ads on LinkedIn are wonderful if you want to spend a lot of money, which I, again, don't. Posts are great to be seen, and we all want to get algorithms to get the biggest reach. But have you ever looked at who responds or likes the posts that you write? I'm in the financial industry. I put posts about finance and insurance, and I typically have my friends who are in finance and insurance who will like my posts or comment on my posts. That doesn't help me grow my business. That makes me feel good that my friends are writing on there. But ads and posts don't have a good reach. So how do we stand out on LinkedIn? I'm going to say two really simple things first. And this is maybe a little more simple than where you guys are at, but I'm going to point them out anyways. The first thing that people look at when they pull up a LinkedIn profile is the photo. And I think it's about 70% of people, the last thing they look at is the photo. That's as far as they go. If you don't have a photo on there, people will assume that you are not active on LinkedIn and will not reach out to you. If you have a blurry photo or a photo of you holding a beer on the beach, you're not as likely to get a good business connection from there. So have a good photo. That's the first very simple one. And the second one is your commercial that you write at the bottom, your little tagline. So I'm going to give you a real world example of this. I was at a networking meeting. We all stood up to introduce ourselves. And I did my introduction with life insurance at that point and said, we're all going to die. So you might as well get paid for it. At the end of the meeting, I had two people come up to me wanting to have a sit-down meeting with me to talk about life insurance. When I talked to them, I asked them why they came up to me when there were 2 or 3 other life insurance agents in that same meeting. And they both looked at me and said, there was another life insurance agent there? I didn't even notice. They had a boring introduction. If your commercial on LinkedIn says something like, I help protect families from dying too soon so that their families won't be in trouble. Okay, that's a really bad one. Nobody's going to pay attention to it. The one I have now in there is having money is not a big deal. Not having money is. And that connects with people a little bit more. They see me as something a little bit different. So those are my two really basic things for you to think about. What I really want to do is go into the meat of what LinkedIn is used for. And feel free to raise your hands, interrupt me with questions. And if I don't see a chat, John, pipe up and tell me to pay attention to the chats.
Yeah, I'll get your back with the chat. If you guys want to ask any questions, put it in the chat first, and then I'll bring it to his attention, and then maybe we can have some Q&A at the end.
Yeah. So to begin with, what is LinkedIn? Most people will say that LinkedIn is a social media channel, which is not entirely correct. LinkedIn is a recruitment platform. LinkedIn is designed for recruiters to find people, to find candidates to fill positions. That is the business model for LinkedIn. And they have a wonderful model because we all put all of our personal information and update our resume daily on LinkedIn so that recruiters can pay a lot of money to get all that information from us. So whatever you're putting there, know that that's who's doing it, because I used to have to pay a lot of money to see all that stuff. But because of that, LinkedIn has a lot of search features that really make it unique among the social media networks. Facebook, you can look up a little information, but LinkedIn, you can really drill down to exactly what you're looking for. So this training really is about prospecting on LinkedIn. It's not as much about being noticed on LinkedIn, because that really takes a lot of time and a lot of money to get those posts out there, and paid posts and all of those things. But if you're looking for your clients, for the best connections for you to have, you can do that free without having to pay anything, with some fairly simple searches. Bear with me as I get to the point here. But I'm going to use an example in this case that we have Champion Circle. We are expanding, and we want to start having more meetings in San Francisco, because I like going back to San Francisco, and I'm willing to fly there once a month to start some meetings. So I want to find some people in San Francisco that will want to join Champion Circle. And for the remainder of this, I'm going to share my screen for my link. And can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay. That's the one I've had trouble with this. Just one little housekeeping rule. This is my actual LinkedIn, so you will be seeing actual people on here. Please don't call them up and say, I saw you on a presentation. So moving into this, I'm going to go to my network, and this is where you want to take some notes to see how to do this. It's a fairly simple process. But again, I'm going to look for people in San Francisco to join Champion Circle. Now, my network is about 1,000 people. I don't have a huge LinkedIn connection. Now, from that, and if I can have somebody write in the chat, what we're going to be looking at is second generation connections, which is my connections. So if I have 1,000, how many second generation connections do you think that makes? So 1,000, so about 10,000. Only one person so far brave enough to answer. So when I search with filters, I'm going to go to just second generation connections. About 832,000 second generation connections. So, okay, Gavin's way over that. That's 800,000 people who I know someone who knows them. That's 800,000 potential warm connections that I can get. So from there, now we're going to start narrowing down to people in San Francisco that might want to join Champion Circle. So the first thing I'm going to do is put in San Francisco Bay Area. Now it's only 162,000 results, which is still more people than I can call to ask them to join. So I'm going to go to all filters. And I'm going to say, you know what? John runs this. So what if I just look up people who are connected with John? Now we've got 26 people that John knows that are in San Francisco. So I'm going to start looking at these people. And so I noticed Aline Goetta. I'm probably not pronouncing that right. A host at What's Your Idea, a bilingual TV show about professions. That sounds like somebody who is very well connected, somebody who is meeting with entrepreneurs for What's Your Idea. Sounds like she's connected with a lot of people who would be interested in Champion Circle. So what I'm going to do at that point, well, actually, first of all, I'm going to click on her profile and see a little bit more about her. She's got 16,000 followers, and she's connected actually with 7 people that I know. So I have 7 chances to try and meet her. And she has lots of posts right now. So she's very active on LinkedIn. So I'm going to call up John and say, John, how are you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing wonderful. John, I got a favor to ask you. I do a little more small talk first, but say, John, I was just looking onto LinkedIn and I see you're connected with Aline Goetta. She looks like somebody that I could really connect with and could really help out my business and help us grow Champion Circle. Do you think you could either send an email to introduce me to her, or if you're in San Francisco, we could sit down and have lunch together? Would you be willing to do one of those for me?
Let's give it a shot. I love it.
Okay, perfect. I've jumped right into the meat part of this, but I now have a warm introduction from my friend to one of his friends to introduce me so I can start talking to them about the business. Now, sorry, as I'm jumping back in this part's fairly easy to do, and you can really narrow down huge, sorry, I lost my word on that. You can narrow down to exactly who you're looking for. If I want to reset some of this, I'm going to show you a couple examples up here and encourage you to go and play with that in the future. But if I go to all filters over here, say, well, let's forget about who John knows. I just want to know people who are talking about leadership in San Francisco. Now I've got 670 people who have put hashtag leadership in their profile. And once my computer catches up, I'm going to do the same thing. Say, okay, here's Letty A. She's administrative assistant, leadership, entrepreneurship. And she's friends with Paul Gagliano. So I'm friends with Paul. So I'm going to reach out to him with the same thing. And I'm going to pause for a second here and see, from what I've said, are there any questions coming up about this so far? Any concerns from that? And it looks like it's all quiet. So I am doing a fantastic job with this. Okay, I got some thumbs ups. So now that we've said this, I want to jump back to a little bit about how you're reaching out to people and how you're doing things on this. This method is ideally used to find strategic partners. Now, if I'm talking about life insurance and I go through this, I target somebody that looks like a good client, and I call up Trayton and say, hey, Trayton, I see you're connected with Rocky down in Dallas. I'd love to sell him some life insurance. Can you connect me with him? He's probably not going to want to do that. Because nobody wants to be connected to somebody who's just going to give them a sales pitch. But if you're connecting with people who are going to help to grow your business, people who you can help grow their business, if you can connect with those strategic partners, that's the ideal way to do this. I'm sure we've all had somebody who connects with us on LinkedIn. I had 2 of them today, as a matter of fact, who connected with me, sent me a message as soon as I accepted their connection saying, hey, I've got a great product that you should hear about because I think it'll really help you out. Like, okay, they just want to sell me something. And I removed our connection together because that's not who I want to connect with. If you're connecting with someone who is a potential partner for you, and I'm going to do a related discussion on this one called a power partner. And a power partner is defined as someone who has the same client you have, but you don't compete with. So a great example is I'm looking at some of the people on here right now, and I'm going to pick on a couple of people. Douglas Warner, I know, works with health insurance. I'd work with Medicare and life insurance. There's a lot of potential for us to help each other out. So when I'm doing this, I may look for someone like Doug who has health insurance and get connected with those people. So the first step of this really is to find out who you want to connect to, who you're looking for. And sorry, my computer is a little bit slow catching up on that. Once you find the person you're looking to connect with, again, then we're going to go back into those searches and look for those people. As you're doing this, keep in mind that the people you're connected to on LinkedIn, if you're connected to a lot of people who do the same thing that you do, when they go in to do this, they're going to find all of your friends and they're going to talk to your friends before you do about your business. So you want to be respectful of your friends' connections. You want to make sure that you're reaching out to them with integrity. And I probably shouldn't have to say that because you guys are all good in that side. But let me just run through another example of that just to kind of show how that works. So I'm again going to go, this time I'm going to look for health insurance people in Utah so I can find other people like Doug that I can work with. So again, 2nd generation connection. And this time I'm going to go for Salt Lake metro area because that's where I'm at right now. And I'm going to go into all filters. And with those filters, I can go down to industries. And I'm going to type in health insurance, and I'm going to hope something pops up with this because I haven't tried this one yet. Oh, my apologies. That did not pop up for me. Okay. Sorry. It didn't pop up because that was not one of the industries that they gave me as an option. So I'm going to have to go with just insurance right now. And I've got about 1,000 people that are in insurance. So the same thing, I can start going through those and looking for anyone that has a health insurance company. Oh, a dad joke enthusiast. I may have to connect with that one.
Sounds like your best friend.
Yeah. I actually just read that telling a dad joke during a sales presentation increases the likelihood of a sale by 17%. Unfortunately, I couldn't find where they got those numbers, but I thought it was a good number anyways. And since we've gone this far, I have to point out that I do love to tell dad jokes. He doesn't always get them, but I still love to tell him. Okay, that was a bad dad joke.
Okay.
Okay. I've kind of gone through this part, and this went a lot faster than I was expecting to show this. So I really want to kind of see if there's questions or concerns about this, or ideas, or if people want to kind of go through it for their own business. How can I help you based on what we've seen here so far?
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, you can either put them in the chat, or now would be a great time to ask. But is there anything that anyone's looking for specifically that would help them improve their I guess awareness of everyone in their network or their second degree networks and so forth? Or how could you use this in your industry? If you have an industry specific question, now would be a great time to ask. I'll come up with a question for you, Ian.
Okay. John to
And
the rescue.
and this is all, relevant as well. But let's say you're not recruiting, but that you are interested in, let's say, let's say you're interested in finding people in just one type of industry. Now, here in this example, you've shown us that you're looking in the metropolitan area of Salt Lake City, and you're looking for anyone who has, insurance related in their skill sets or bios and whatnot. Let's say it's something different. Let's say that as an insurance agent, you really want to work with people who specialize in owning their own businesses. Okay, they're the owner, they're the operator, and they're their own business. That's kind of a broader subject. How would you search for people who are business owners, and in this context, maybe small business owners in your network? Does that make sense?
That does, yeah. So I'm going to start the same way. And the second generation connections is really the secret here, because this gives us people we can ask for an introduction to, rather than sending out blind information to people, blind emails. This lets us get a personal introduction. So again, the second generation, and I'm going to go down to, again, my filter. And one is I'm going to click on the hashtag entrepreneurship. So this is going to give me every second generation connection where they've put entrepreneurship into their profile. And I've got about 1,900 people for that. So if I just kind of scroll down here, okay, Josh Baker, entrepreneur and investor in Salt Lake City. And I have one common connection, Frank Bonin. Got a business student here. Realtor. Again, Letty comes up again as an entrepreneurship. So really, these filters allow you to do as much as you want with this. So I can say I want entrepreneurship or startups, have either of those. And I want to find somebody who used to work at Google. Now I'm down to 46 results.
And it looked like there was a space there to, they suggest some companies, right? But you can also look for your own. So if it's not Google, it might be Microsoft, and you can
Right.
add that to your list there.
Yep. So you can, click there, and you want somebody who is at Tesla. I'm going to get rid of the past one. I don't know if this will show up with anybody or not. Okay. Nobody fit that narrow of a description. This can, the company you're working for, or that they're working for, can be a valuable one as well. I know when I'm in insurance, if I'm looking at finding some other people to join to work with me in my insurance, one thing that I'll do is I'll look for people at New York Life, because I used to work for New York Life, and they tend to be very successful when they come over to my company. So if there's companies that will be a good fit for you, for the culture, that can be a good one to reach out to. As a recruiter, I would look for companies that just had things in the news about layoffs coming up. And I would reach out to those people because I knew that they were scared for their job and they would be open to talking to a recruiter. So the more you're aware of what's going on, you can pick those things that are going to narrow down exactly who the most effective people for you to talk to are. So rather than spending hours coming up with new social media posts and trying to be creative with those and paying all the money on it, you can narrow down to just the most important people for you to talk to. And again, as a recruiter, I would have to reach out to a lot of people who I didn't have a warm connection with. I know that goes against what I've been saying here about using your second generation and warm connections. But if you do end up reaching out to people who you don't know, or maybe I send John a note saying, hey, do you know Bill? And he gets back to me and says, no, I don't know Bill. I probably met him at a convention somewhere and we connected and can't help you out. So I can reach out to Bill, but we want to be careful in how we word things so we don't come across as a salesperson reaching out to him. So I'll give you my secret as a recruiter, and this can be put into any situation, but the line I would use is, hey, I've got a favor to ask you. I know this seems kind of weird, but I'm a recruiter and I'm hiring for a position which is very similar to the position you have right now. I'm hoping you know some coworkers who might be interested in looking for a new position or a change. Almost every time I sent that, I got a response back saying, I don't know of any coworkers who are interested, but just out of curiosity, what's this opportunity you have? And they would be open to it that way. Trayton works with solar. He could do a similar one saying, I know this seems kind of weird. I see that you just moved into an area and you're probably getting to know your neighbors. I work with solar, and I'm wondering if any of your neighbors have mentioned that they're interested in solar yet. Same thing, they come back and say, well, no, haven't got to know them much, but what's the deal you have going on? So it's a way to reach out to people without necessarily giving them a sales pitch, but opening it up for them. And if they don't respond, then you don't need to worry about that. Sorry, I looked over at the notes and confused myself for a second there.
That's okay. And we've got a couple more questions in the chat. If you you want me to ask them for our participants.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So going down, our dear friend Angie. Angie, our dear friend Angie, she says, we have an account, but we've never used it. how should we get started? And I'm guessing by this question, she's asking, we have an account for our business. Maybe it's a personal account, but if they have an account for business or for themselves and they don't really use it much, what do you recommend, getting started with LinkedIn?
Okay. First thing, like any social network, is you need to make connections. So you need to build up your connections. I always tell people, do whatever you can to get up to 500 connections. Because after you have 500, it just shows that you have 500. Now that sounds like a big number, but it actually you can get there quite quickly. So one of the first things is when you go on there, if I click on my network. Oh, thank you, Triton. I'm going to accept your invite. And sorry, my computer is slow here. Underneath that, it's going to give people I might know. Oops, I went one spot too far, sorry. Let me see if I can get back to that page. This is a challenge of a slow internet connection on these. Well, it's catching up. Let me just explain some of that. So in LinkedIn, you can connect with people that you have a shared connection with, or people that you have some type of actual connection that they can see. By that, what I mean is you've worked at the same company, you've gone to the same school, or you belong to some of the same groups. So I'm going to jump back because it wasn't being nice to me here. If I scroll down here, I apologize. I wasn't ready for this question, so I'm trying to find the right spot. When you go into connections, you'll see people who went to schools you went to, worked in companies. One of the best ones is to use groups. And from your homepage on the left-hand side, you'll see a groups tab. When you click on that, these are groups that I belong to. And on the right, it says groups you might be interested in. When you join a group, you can reach out to any member of that group. So as an example, this first one on mine is Small Business Network by Entrepreneurs. That sounds like a good one for us to reach out to in Champion Circle. Once it catches up with my screen, I can now show all the members that are in there. And I can search in those members. So the same way we did the search before, we can actually do a search for members and find people who are oh, this is only names, sorry. You'll be able to find members in that group and reach out to them and ask them to join. So the same way you want to try and look for ones who are would be open to connecting and who will be beneficial for you. Let's create history with Hardik Kotecha. Okay, he's in India, but otherwise he sounds like somebody that has a nice introduction, would be good to meet. When you see this, there'll be a follow and a message and a more tab. When you click on more, that's going to give you an option to connect with him. And I always recommend to add a note whenever you send an invitation. So adding a note saying, hey, we're both in the same group. I like what you said in your introduction. I'd love to connect with you, something like that. People are more likely to connect with you when you have a message to them. So really for Angie's first step is to get connected with people. Because once you get those initial connections, then you can start finding those second generation connections. Along with that, being at least somewhat active on LinkedIn. You know, having a post once or twice a week is always good to have. In Angie's case, I would say anytime you finish a roof, I would take a picture of the roof and post it on there so that people can see that. Any news articles that you come across talking about the importance of checking your roof or new materials in roof or new strategies, any of those kind of things that help to place you as an expert in it are going to be helpful. And I'm also happy to sit down with you later on, Angie, and kind of walk through your profile with you and show you some tips that we can fine tune that some.
Great question, Angie. And thank you, Ian. Great examples. Another question from my friend Karen is, when it comes to network marketing, how would this, how would your strategy, or how would this example work on LinkedIn? And I want to preface too and just say, like all sales positions, that's what essentially network marketing is just marketing and sales in an individual's capabilities. So what would you recommend if you're in a network marketing position?
Oh, okay. There's a couple of things you can do in the searches. The same as I did a search with, actually, well, let me just do this search real quick, sorry. Rather than explain it, let's do it live. So I'm going to go back to my network, to my connections, and hopefully my computer will catch up with me. Okay. And again, back to the search with filters. And I apologize for being quiet. I have trouble typing and talking at the same time. And there's a couple of things that are going to be especially good for network marketing. Because in reality, they're some of the same things I would look for when I was doing recruiting, because in the end, it's all recruiting. So if I do hashtag open to work. And we'll see if that comes up for me. Oh, did that do another not?
So clarification, the reason why you would use hashtag open to work is you're looking for recruitment, right? You're recruiting additional people to either, join your business or, that's one part of the question, right? I guess there's two parts to network marketing. One is building up your team, and then also building up your customer base. So great. I love that you did that. That's a great clarification.
And that one didn't come up for me. As we're doing this live, different things will happen. So I'm going to go down to, oh, I apologize. They keep changing some things on me here. There used to be just a keyword spot. Okay. So jumping back to what they have preset for us now, hashtag sales would be one for anyone looking for sales, or entrepreneurship would be people to look for that. Along with that, you may want to find certain industries. So I'm just going to go network marketing can be a lot of different things, but I'm going to put see, public health, just because there's a lot of health and nutrition type things. That may not be the best one, but I've got two people that popped up here that talk about healthcare, health access, entrepreneurship. He could be someone who's interested in opportunities to promote health with his own business. So you can narrow down the most likely industries for that. And I'm going to jump to one more thing. I mentioned groups before. And so if I'm going to type just health business in here, and once I've typed it, I can go down and highlight groups that talk about health business. So Health, Fitness, and Wellness Business Network. So this has 3,000 people who are in this group talking about health, wellness, and business. That could be a good group to find people who are interested in what you have to do. So if you join that, then you'll be able to see their posts and what people are writing in it. The more active you get in some of these groups, it builds up a respect for what you're doing. The more you're asking questions and especially answering questions that other people have, then you can start to build those actual relationships, albeit virtually, with people who are going to be a good potential for you to meet for business. Once you're in that group, again, you can connect with anyone in that group. Then you'll be able to see all of their first generation connections as well. Does that help to answer your question?
That was from Karen. Yeah.
Karen, yes. Sorry, I was scrolling up to find who it was that asked that.
And I love that, Ian, because again, it's not just, I guess, and number two, well, let's go back to recruitment. Number one is recruitment and just how well you use your ability to connect to people and send really great messages and connections. And obviously, like you said before, the best connections are those through people you already know. So those introductions are made easier, and they also are very, very much more welcomed. I mean, none of us in this room right now, none of us love getting the connect with us other than to build valuable connections and learn more about each other, right? So that's number one. Number two, I think is on the sales side. You're looking for people who fit the dynamics and the demographics that are your ideal customers, and that's an easy thing to look up and to search for here in the search bar. And then number three is look for communities where that's totally welcomed and wanted, where you look for similar people in network marketing spaces, or similar alignments. I mean, if you're familiar with Facebook, then you're sort of familiar with LinkedIn as well. There are groups and communities all over, and you can search for them that fit that ideal needs. So thank you for that. Unless you have anything to add to that, I have another question from William.
Okay. No, I think that's good. I was going to say there's a lot of groups for people looking for jobs and open to work, and that would also be a great place to look for recruiting and network marketing.
I'll add to that and say open to work is a great hashtag to follow on all accounts, because again, that means people are looking for work, they're looking for jobs, and that means they're open. It means they're not just looking for salary paid positions or hourly paid positions. They might be looking for commission-based positions as well. People more and more today value their freedom, and they want to be able to work remote. They want to be able to work from home, or they want to be able to have the option to say, hey, I love physical labor, or I love coming into an office. And so that's the beauty and power behind this movement of open to work. So I've noticed a lot of my friends, especially people at universities, they're just graduating, they're jumping into the world, and they have the hashtag, and they even have it in their Instagrams and stuff like that too. So let's jump on over to go ahead.
Sorry, a real quick caveat with that one. If you are employed full-time, don't put that on your profile, because your boss will be able to see that as well.
Yeah.
So be careful what you're putting on there. If you are in a position where you have a full-time day job, you don't want them to know that you're looking for something else. A quick last thing to point out there as well, in sending out messages, I've had more success with a message along this line of, hey, I see you're looking for a new job. I see that you've been a realtor in the past. While you're looking for your dream realtor job, would you be interested in a side gig that might help bring in some money while you're waiting for your next dream job to come in? And something like that sometimes is a little bit less scary for somebody to respond to find out about it, rather than a big sales pitch.
I love that.
Okay, then going to Willie. I love that you asked that because, again, groups is great. A group I belong to is called Author U. And there's almost 23,000 members about your guide to book publishing and being an author. Again, doing a search for, I would say, first of all, a search for authors. But once again, if I go to my network, oh, and thank you, Lauren, let me accept your request while I'm here. And I'm going to do a search for the job title of author and find out how many of my connections, either in this case, I'm going to do a first generation as well, because I may want to reach out to somebody I'm already connected to. But I'm going to do first and second generation, and then go to all filters. And have a moment of silence while that click comes up. Okay.
Did you say silence?
Oh, pardon?
Did you say silence?
Oh, I said we'll have a moment of silence while I wait for this to pop up for me.
I was going to say, we might have to hear, hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yes. That is the sound of silence. So I'm going to put in, if anyone put author in the title for their profile. And first and second generation, I've got 4,800 people who are authors that I can now reach out to, either if they're first generation, all these coming so far are second generation. So if I go down to here, David Douglas. So Elizabeth Lyle, I know real well. Rick Silva, I know. I've got 12 more connections. I've got 27 connections here with this person. It'd be very easy for me to reach out to either of them and say, hey, David, I see that you're an author. We're connected with 14 different people. So we must know each other from someplace. I'd love to connect with you here and find out a little bit about how you became an author and see if you're willing to share anything with me. Most people in this position are pretty happy to talk about that because, hey, if you're an author, you want to kind of talk about the fact you've written a book and help somebody. This is great because you're not coming at them with a sales pitch. You're not trying to sell them anything. You're looking for their help and their expertise. So I would just look for ones. Let me actually jump into, just saw Carrie down here, best-selling author, which is even better. We have a lot of connections, and once it pops up, let me see what it is she wrote. In Toastmasters, Living Resiliently. Author of the book, Living Resiliently. So that sounds like a good book for some of the things that Willie is writing as well. So she would be a good one to reach out to in that case, if you had the connections with her that I do. Does that help you, Willie? I'm going to assume that's a yes.
He says yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's um
Um,
just just a couple more things and then we'll wrap up this meeting. Thank you guys for hanging out and for joining us. We started 5 minutes after, so we'll end 5 minutes after. But Ian, can you can you think of anything else that we should know as we begin these strategies? Again, I don't want anyone to feel overwhelmed in this process, but just like all things, you should probably take some time right now in your calendar, block out maybe 30 to 45 minutes or even an hour to just click around, practice some of these. We'll obviously provide a recording of this available to anyone who would like to review it and watch it. It'll probably go up on our YouTube channel and our podcast channel, so that you can regularly access this, and we'll be happy to share that over the next 48 to 72 hours. But we recommend that everyone takes the time to practice this, get involved, because like you said, even though this is not technically considered a social media network, it is a place where you should be social. And so getting online and connecting with more people is very, very important. Anything else you would add or just share, as we start to close this out, Ian, and recommendations for participation and being active and really a good community member here on?
yeah, a couple of things. Oh, sorry, you cut out for a second on me there, John. So I'll do a real quick last answer to Lauren's question about video. It's actually really easy. The easiest thing to do is create a video, upload it to your YouTube account, and then just post the link into your comment or your post in LinkedIn, and the video will pop up. They can watch it right there. It'll take them over to YouTube if they want. So sharing video is really easy. Video right in your post. More views than a text post. I've done a few not real scientific experiments, but again, my text generally get 5 to 10 likes or views on my text. A short video, I'll get 50 to 100 views of that video. So it's much more productive to have a video on there than it is just a text. And kind of to wrap it up, as John said, it can seem overwhelming to say there's all this stuff you have to do, but really it's start to connect with the people you know. Think about coworkers you have that you like and want to connect with, past coworkers, old friends from college or even high school, relatives. Go through the roster for your church congregation, and start typing those names in. Every time I meet somebody, if I get a business card from somebody, first thing I do is type them into LinkedIn, so that I can find them that way. And LinkedIn is my biggest CRM that I use, customer resource management, is LinkedIn, because everyone updates it as soon as there's a change. But play around with it. Look for friends, look for a couple of groups that you think will be beneficial to your business. People share a lot of information. People in those groups tend to be very open about sharing what works for them, answering questions. And it doesn't take long before you find yourself being the one answering those questions yourself in those groups. So with that, I just say thanks to everyone for coming and listening. And I hope that there's something beneficial. And always feel free to reach out to me directly if you have a question. I'm happy to sit down one-on-one with anyone and through specifics for your jobs and your industries.
I'll add myself to the spotlight here. Hopefully my internet's working okay. But I just wanted to say, Ian, thank you for this very valuable training, and thank you for giving us so much to consider. If you would, and I'd like to recommend this for everybody, please take 2 minutes here and please post your LinkedIn profiles here on in the chat section so that we can connect with you. You can connect with us, and you can practice a lot of this training and teaching for the next week. We challenge you because we want better networks just as much as you do. And I want to just, put my hands together and say, thank you, Ian. This was very valuable. And we'll be sending a follow-up to this training. And if you felt like there was some really good information and you'd like more, you can give us some feedback and we'll present and prepare and also schedule future trainings as well, based on what you're seeking and what you need. This community is a membership-based community, and we invite all of you to connect and participate. And I think Ian's screen may have froze. Maybe it's my internet. If you guys are having trouble hearing me, Trayton, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me just fine. Okay, good. Okay, I just want to make sure. I think Ian froze there for a second. That's a great view of him, though. But just wanted to share, guys. Again, if you have feedback or wanting specific training in general, we'll connect you with Ian, as well as schedule more of these workshops and trainings for you, so that you can access them and connect with us and learn more. We want to be a learning place for all entrepreneurs, business owners, and even those of the W-2 world. We want to be a great resource to all of you as you're seeking to achieve personal goals, and that's important to us. So, Ian, thank you so much for your time, and we appreciate the knowledge you've shared with us.
Thank you very much.
Awesome, guys. We'll
Thanks,
appreciate you
Ian.
joining. See you guys later. We'll talk to you soon.